Hello my beautiful people. In today's crochet tutorial we're going to be making these Jack Skellington bow tie. I designed this for my whimsical witch hat. I wanted to have a Jack Skellington theme and I was like, it needed a bow tie, but then I thought, why not? So I made a top and I think I'm actually going to be attaching the bow tie here for my top. I think you could even use it as an actual bow tie. I think I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of it. Anyway, all the talking, let's get down to it. For this project you're going to need some black yarn, some white yarn, and I used a 5.5mm hook and a 3.5mm hook. And this hook is optional if you decide to crochet the eyes. I used a 1.75mm hook to crochet with only 2 plies of worsted weight yarn instead of all 4. But you could use felt or even puff paint or paint for the eye part, or even the wing detailings if you want to use puff paint for that and not actually crochet them on. But as always, if possible, I'm going to try to give you a crochet option so you don't have to go buy other supplies that you may not have on hand. You're going to need a very small amount of polyfill, and then as always you want scissors, you want some stitch markers, a tapestry needle, and then some pins if you choose to do the crochet eye option. Wow, there's a weird shade on my face. Anyway, that is all I have to say, I think. So I hope that was a whole material list. I don't know, but yes, let's get down to it. So let's get started with the wings portion of our bat, our bow tie. And for the wings we're going to use two strands of worsted weight yarn in black and a 5.5mm hook. And we're gonna start out by chaining 41. I want to apologize a little bit. I don't know if it was the black yarn, but it was a little bit hard to focus during this video. But for our number 1, we're going to be working on the back bumps. I was trying to show you here a little bit. In the front, you can see your regular chains, and if you turn your work, you're going to see these back bumps that are in the back, and those are the ones that you will be working on. So you're going to do a slit stitch on the second back bump from your hook, and then do 1 more slit stitch. And then you're going to follow that with 10 single crochets in the next 10 back bumps. After your 10 single crochets, you're going to half double crochet in the next 16 back bumps. Now you're going to want to single crochet in the next 10 back bumps. To finish off row number 1, we're going to slip stitch in the last 2 back bumps. And now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. For row number 2, we're going to slip stitch in the first 12 stitches. Now we're going to half double crochet in the next 16 stitches, but we're going to mark our first stitch. So grab a stitch marker, do your half double crochet, and then mark your stitch, and then continue on the next 15. And now we're going to slip stitch on the last 12 stitches. This is the part where you may hate me just a tiny bit because this project's going to have a lot of tails. So we're just going to fast enough and cut a yarn, and then we're going to grab our yarn again. Do not turn your work, leave it as it is, and you're going to chain 16. Now, I know if you are right-handed, your stitch marker is going to be on the right side, so just don't turn your work after you fast enough. But yeah, so chain 16, and now on that very marked stitch we're going to do a half double crochet increase on that marked stitch. So there's, it's gonna feel a little funky, but yeah, yarn over, insert your hook, and then pull through all 3 loops. There we go. And now we're gonna do our second stitch. And now you're going to half double crochet in the next 14 stitches. To finish off row 3, we're going to do a half double crochet increase on that next stitch, and then you're going to chain 17. I know my title is wrong over there. It says chain 1 turn. It must have been like a copy and paste issue. I do that a lot, so disregard that chain 1. Just 17 at the end, and then you're going to turn your work. Now we're going to slit stitch on our second chain from our hook and then slit stitch in the next 2 chains. Now you're going to single crochet in the next 4 chains. Now you're going to half double crochet in the next 5 chains. And now you're going to double crochet in the last 4 chains. And now we're going to single crochet in the next 18 stitches. Now we're going to double crochet in the next 4 chains. You're going to half double crochet in the next 5 chains. You're going to single crochet in the next 4 chains. And now you can slit stitch in the last 3 chains. At the end, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. For row number 5, we're going to slit stitch in the first 3 stitches. Single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Half double crochet in the next 5 stitches. And now you're going to double crochet in the next 5 stitches. single crochet in the next 18 stitches. Double crochet in the next 5 stitches. Half double crochet in the next 5 stitches. Single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Slip stitch in the last 3 stitches, and then fasten off your work, cut your yarn, and do not turn your work. After you fasten off, we're going to go back to the beginning of our row and we're going to count 15 stitches. I don't know why I forgot to mark it as I was working it, but here we are. So count 15 from the beginning and mark that stitch. And then you're going to grab your yarn and you're going to chain 10. Did I tell you that you might possibly hate me for all these tales? Yeah, it's only... This is where it's going to get funky. You're going to insert your hook on that 15 stitch that we marked, and then we're going to start out with a decrease. So you're decreasing stitch number 15 and 16 together. So there's our first decrease, and then you're going to single crochet in the next 18 stitches. Next, you're going to work a single crochet decrease. And now we're going to chain 11 and turn our work. For row number 7, we're going to start out with a slip stitch on that second chain from the hook and slip stitch in the next 2 chains. And now you're going to single crochet in the next 3 chains. Half double crochet in the next 4 chains. And now you're going to single crochet in the next 20 stitches. Now we're going to half double crochet in the first 4 chains. Single crochet in the next 3 chains. And now we're going to slit stitch on the last 3 chains, and obviously Sonia that recorded this video and the Sonia that wrote the titles are 2 different people. Do not fast enough after this. Leave your yarn attached, and you do not have to weave in your ends because we're about to do the border, and when we do the border we're just simply going to crochet over them. I think Sonia that was writing was trying to just be more professional. I don't know why, but anyway, I'm gonna try to explain this part as best as I can. So when we get to the end, before we start the border, you're going to chain 1 and single crochet on that tip, and now you're going to chain 1, and now you're going to slit stitch that chain 1 to that front loop of the previous single crochet you just made. It's like a really short picot stitch. And then you're gonna go through and single crochet on that very same stitch. That's gonna allow us to get somewhat of like a pointier tip at the end. And now you're going to go down and single crochet in each one of, the opposite chain. That was the chain 10 that we did on the previous round, so you're just going to single crochet on the opposite side. And remember, as you are working down the side, if you have a tail, just tuck it right underneath so you can crochet over it as you are working down that edge. And the way that I like to do it is once I get towards the last bit of that tail, I'm gonna push it back and leave about half an inch out so I can kind of nicely tug it and then cut it later. So as you can see, I have that end of the tail kind of sticking out. So now when we get to the inner corners of the bow tie, what we're going to do is we're going to do a 3-in-1 decrease. So we're going to insert our hook on the last available chain that we have, and then we're going to use that kind of stretched out. We technically already used that stitch, so on that very last chain, right in the middle, pull up a loop, and then on the very first stitch that's available on the opposite corner, and then you're just gonna pull your yarn through all 3 of them. So now you have your corner. It's going to give it a really nice edging. And now when we're working on a side that you actually have visible stitches on the other side, here, I'm going to show you. The 3-in-1 decrease gives you a really nice V. That's what we want on every single inner corner of the bow tie. So what we're going to do now, and it's going to cut on the next clip, you'll see it. When you have available stitches, right, not the opposite sides of the chain, when you have a row where you can clearly see the stitches from before, I'm going to be working only on the front loops, and this is gonna help me stiffen that border a little bit more, kind of give it a little bit more dimension. So if you have stitches available, work on the front loops only, but if you have just the opposite side of the chain, just work on the stitch that you have. I mean, we're working on a border. You try to make it as clear as you as clean as you possibly can. Take your time with this. Try to not you know, add too many stitches, but I mean, you have a stitch by stitch, so you should be able to work on it. But as you can see, I'm only working on those front loops because I have both loops available. Sorry for all the rambling. I'm just really trying to explain it, and I really hope that it's not confusing. So I'm working my way up back to the tip, and once we get to the tip, we're going to do that chain one, a single crochet, a chain one, then you're gonna go back down and slip stitch on that front loop of the single crochet that you just made for the tip, and then another single crochet on the same stitch. So I'm going to repeat myself again. We're at the tip. We're going to do a single crochet, a chain one, now slip stitch to that front loop of that chain one of the single crochet you just made, and then do another single crochet on that very same tip. You want to do that for every single tip, and then when you get to the inner indentations, do the 3-in-1 decrease. Did I mention how much you're gonna hate me during this project already? Yeah. Anyway, so right now we're going to surface crochet or surface slit stitch the wing details to the bow tie. There's going to be a lot of tails, but I promise it's worth it. So for the surface crochet, I am working in the holes in between each row. So there's like lines, and you'll see there's like visible holes in between your two rows where the two rows meet. And that's where we're going to be working on. So yeah, stay with your 5.5 millimeter hook and just one strand of white. And you're gonna insert your hook, and we're gonna pull our yarn. We're gonna pull a loop through the back into the front, and you're gonna work in between those holes. This part is pretty much free-handed. Just really take your time. You can do as many strips as you want or as little strips as you want. I mean, I can see this part also working with like puff paint if you don't want to slit stitch, because yeah, I'm always gonna try to give you an option to where you can crochet, so you don't have to buy extra stuff that you may not have around. So if you don't have puff paint around, you know, don't use it. You can still be able to do the surface slit stitch. As you can see, I'm going in between my lines. Again, I am so sorry for the blurriness of this video, but you can see I'm inserting my hook in an available hole in between the two rows, pulling up a loop, and then doing a slit stitch. You want your working yarn to be in the back of your work, and you're pulling your loops into the front, and that's how I'm gonna make my first line. I think for the most part I recorded all of this, but so if you don't want to watch me making these surface slit stitches, you can definitely skip to the next chapter here. If you want to just do puff paint, you don't have to watch this. You can do as many lines as you want or as little lights as you want. Lines as you want. If you don't want to make any lines, you don't have to make any lines. I mean, don't let me tell you what to do. This is yours. You're gonna use it. You're gonna love on it. So you do you. You do you. And I should stop talking right now. Oh, hey, it's me talking again. So when you get to the back, you're just going to cut your yarn and just pull up a loop. Pull it really, or not pull up, pull up your yarn. And then what I'm going to do is go back into that last area that we made the stitch and then pull the tail to the back. So for my second line, I'm working about 2 rows below that previous yarn. So just like before, grab your working yarn from the back and start pulling up your loops from the back to the front, so you can start making those slit stitches all the way down. As you can see, I went 2 visible rows above my previous line. For my third line, I'm working at the tip of that metal tail that we have there, and then working all the way across to the other end, so you have like really one long line. I went like 2 rows below my middle line, counted 2 rows up, and then kind of followed the line all the way along. Just looking at your work, you should be able to kind of see the line of the row. So it goes from one end to the other. And for my fourth tip, I wanted to go halfway through that middle. Sorry, for my fourth line, I wanted to start halfway through that middle tip and then work my way down halfway through at the other end. So it's not a full line. We're starting at the middle of the tip, working our way down. So I'm not sure, I didn't record the last line for some reason, but we're working on that very last tip, working from the highest point we can on that tip, working our way down and up into the other tip. But what we're gonna do next is I'm grabbing a really long strand, I want to say about maybe 2 feet of yarn, 24 inches, and we're going to cinch down our bow. Yeah, I'm attaching my needle now, but so what we're going to do is we're going to cinch the middle up and then fold one end to the center and the other one to the center. So again, we're going to cinch that middle part and then fold one end and then fold the other end, and that is what we're going to cinch. And now I'm just going to weave my yarn back and forth a couple of times. So go through the middle, you want to leave a nice tail, about 6 inches, work your way down and up again, and do this quite like a million times, like quite a bunch of times. Just so it stays nice and cinched, and so it's just very secure. We're gonna start on the bat head, and for this one I used a 3.5 millimeter hook and just 1 strand of black yarn. You can do a magic ring or a chain 2, whichever is your preferred method, and do 8 single crochets on that second chain or the magic ring. And then at the very end of the round, you're going to join and chain 1. You want to make sure that your stitches are very, very tight. So if a 3.5 millimeter gives you, holy work, I would go down a size. Or if you feel like it's too tight, then I would go up a size. But you want your stitches to be very tight. You don't want any stuffing to ever show through your work. So whichever one works for your tension. So for round number 2, we're simply going to single crochet increase on that first stitch. Our single crochet increase, and then a single crochet on the next stitch, and you're going to repeat that 3 more times, and then when you get to the end you want to join and chain 1.
So next, what I'm going to do after my join and my chain one, I'm actually going to grab my tail, like that beginning tail, and I'm going to pull it out of my work. I just feel like if I pull the tail from the outside, it's going to give me a sharper point at the bottom. I always do this. You don't have to do this. I just for some reason think that it makes it pointier, but it's not a necessary step. You could just make sure that you pull your tail tight to close that hole at the bottom. And so for round number 3, our sequence is going to be a single crochet increase followed by 2 single crochets in the next 2 stitches, and you want to do that for a total of 4 times. So single crochet increase on that first stitch, single crochet in the next 2, and repeat that 3 more times. And when we get to the end, you want to join and chain 1. I do want to say that my chain 1 never counts as a stitch. You're going to work your first stitch of the round on the same stitch where you did the join. That would be your first stitch, and then continue with the rest of the round. So at the end you did your join and your chain 1, and then for round number 4 we're going to start with a single crochet increase and a single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and you want to repeat the sequence 3 more times for a total of 20 stitches, and then at the end you're going to join and chain 1. For round number 5, we're going to do a single crochet increase and a single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you want to repeat this 3 more times, and at the end of your round you're going to join and chain 1. There's my join and my chain 1, and for round number 6 through 10 you're going to simply single crochet in each stitch around, join and chain 1, and then I will meet you right back to start the ears. So after round 10 we're going to start out on the first ear. So to start out the first ear we're going to single crochet in the first 6 stitches. This part's gonna get really blurry. Like, I don't know how many times I should stop apologizing, but I do feel really bad that I couldn't give you like really good content. I was really fighting with my camera at this point and it just did not like me. So now we're going to skip the next 12 stitches. And it's gonna feel a little funky, but believe me, it's gonna work, I promise. So on that 13th stitch you're gonna do a single crochet. So you can see it left a hole for the other ear, and we're gonna work on that first ear. So I'm trying really hard to focus my camera here. But on that 13th stitch you're going to do a single crochet, and now you're gonna single crochet on the last 5 stitches, and then you want to join and chain 1. For round number 2 of that first ear, we're going to single crochet in the first 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you're going to do a single crochet decrease on them through the next 2 stitches. And now you're going to do another single crochet decrease, another single crochet decrease, and then you're going to single crochet in the last 4 stitches. Now you're going to join and chain 1. For round number 3 of the first ear, you're going to single crochet in the first 3 stitches, and you're going to single crochet decrease twice. I'm decreasing there, I promise. I know it's blurry. And now you're going to single crochet in the last 3 stitches, join and chain 1. We're gonna take a break real quick now, and we're going to stuff the head. And you want your stuffing to be kind of firm. You don't want it to be too soft. So the way that I did it is I'm gonna stuff the head and then do a little bit on the ear. I'm only gonna stuff about halfway up the ear. I'm not gonna fully stuff the ear, just a little bit of stuffing there, and then we are going to continue on the 4th round of the ear. So we're gonna single crochet in the first 2 stitches, and then we're going to decrease twice. This is really bad, I'm so sorry. This is my first decrease, and then another decrease. This part's gonna get a little bit tight just because we're working with very few stitches on a very small area with a very small hook. But here again, I'm trying to find my camera, but yeah, I'm gonna do that decrease. And now we're gonna single crochet in the last 2 stitches, and then we're gonna join to the first stitch, and at that point you want to fasten off and leave a tail. So yeah, now I'm gonna grab my needle, and the way that I like to close off my holes, I like to weave my needle in and out the outer loops and then pull tight to close it off. We're gonna leave that tail because we're gonna use it later. And now we're gonna get started on the 2nd ear, and this is where it's going to be different for right-handed people and left-handed people. It's just a matter of where you insert your hook for that very first single crochet. So yeah, we're going to be working along those leftover 12 stitches that we left over on the first ear. So for left-handed people, you're going to look at your work the way that I'm showing you right now, and we're going to count 6 stitches from the left, and we're going to attach our hook on that 7th stitch. If you're right-handed, you're going to count from the right. You're going to count 6 stitches and attach your hook to your yarn to that 7th stitch for our first single crochet. So this is the only part where it's different for left-handed and right-handed people for the ear. So you're going to attach on your 7th stitch. So I'm attaching my hook my yarn right there. I'm going to chain 1 and then work on those 6 stitches. Now we want to turn our work and then work on the last 6 stitches on the opposite side. You are going to have a hole right in between the 2 ears. Don't worry about it. We're going to come back and crochet over it. Now this is a part, both ears are worked the same way, so you can pause at this moment. I didn't actually record me working on that 2nd ear because it's exactly the same steps as the previous ear. So you can just pause at this moment, look at the screen. That's how you're going to work your stitches. It's worked the same exact way, and then I'll meet you right back. When you finish this ear, do not cut your yarn, leave your yarn attached. So when we finish our ear, I'm going to need a really long tail, because this tail is the one that we're going to use to shape the bat face and also to attach it to the bow. So the way that I always measure, I'm going to look at my work and I'm kind of lightly wrap my yarn around the face 3 times, and that should be a long enough tail so we can shape and attach to the bow. And just like before, you're going to cut your yarn and we're going to weave in and out the outer loops of that ear so we can close off that hole. Here I'm checking that I have enough stuffing on my head. You want it to, if you were to push it, you want it to bounce right back. So it should be pretty firm. So now you can take off your needle from the long tail and we're going to attach it to the short tail. So what we're going to do first is we're going to shape that ear. So what I'm doing is I'm sinking in the middle of the ear and holding it tight, and I'm just going to weave my needle in one side, out the other, go down a little bit and go back in and go back out to the center. So you can see I'm just kind of working my ear. I'm pushing the middle down so you can kind of get that edging on the outside of the ear. So yeah, I'm gonna go in and out. Make sure that when you're going in, you're grabbing that middle part of the ear so it doesn't pop back up. So as you can see, I'm gonna insert it, making that, you know, kind of bump that you made on the outside of the ear, and make sure you actually your needle's poking through that middle and then going out the other bump on the opposite side, and then you want to pull tight. There you go. And now with that short tail, what we're going to do is we're going to close out that hole right in the middle between the two ears. Here I'm just working with it, I'm shaping it and pulling my yarn tight so we make sure that it sticks. And now make sure I push my stuffing all the way down, and I'm gonna thread my needle or weave my yarn down so I can close off that hole. And now I'm just gonna grab that tail and I'm gonna bring it all the way down, and I'm just gonna weave it in. I usually like to weave it in down to a lower point and make a knot, and then feed that knot back through that hole and then cut my yarn. It just makes it stiff. And now I'm just weaving in my bottom tail. I'm doing the same where I'm double knotting, weaving it in, double knotting, and then pulling that knot back into my work. So now here's the fun part that I hope I can explain. If you've done my mandrake, it's pretty much the same type of shaping. Oh yeah, first I'm going to do the ear. Sorry, so just like we did the other ear, we're going to do the same with this ear. Kind of push that center down, create kind of these bumps on the outsides of the ear, and weave that needle in and out. And then shape your ears, and once you're happy, we're going to bring our needle down because we're going to start the eyebrows of the bat. So the way that I like to do this is there's a lot of pinching, securing, pinching again. Just be very careful here. I'm kind of showing you, I'm grabbing my thumbs and pushing it down. That's where my eyes are going to go. And then grabbing my pointer fingers and squishing the eyebrows down. And that is where we're going to weave in our yarn in and out to shape those eyebrows. So push your fingers right in the middle and cinch with your pointer fingers down just to kind of get a shape, an idea of the shaping. And now just pinch really tight and weave your yarn up, in and out very carefully. Take your time. Before you make those stitches, make sure that is the shape that you want, because it's really hard undoing the shaping after you're done. It's really because you're pulling really tight, and if you make a mistake, it's really hard to undo. So really take your time, see what your work is looking like, squeeze, look at it, then weave your yarn in and out to kind of properly shape that. It's not easy. It's not the easiest thing. I've messed up many times in the past, but it is totally doable. Just take your time. So now we're going to work on the nose of the bat. So we're going to do the same process. Once you're happy with your eyebrows, you're going to grab your thumbs, poke it down, and now you're going to push your thumbs together to kind of shape that nose. After you do the eyebrow, the nose should kind of pop up. So as you can see, I did it right through the middle. I'm bringing my yarn from the outer loop to the middle so I can shape the nose. So again, put your thumbs in there and just squeeze, and then do that shaping just like you did on the eyebrows. I'm so sorry. Sometimes I'm really bad at explaining things. I do hope that it makes sense. It's very simple. I think there's a lot of YouTube videos on how to properly do shaping. I don't necessarily know if I'm doing it right. I'm just doing it what feels right to me. But really take your time, and before you make those stitches, make sure that you're happy with the way that it's looking. So yeah, let's do the eyes. You can do this whichever way you want to. You do not have to crochet them. We're going to be using a really small needle and only 2 plies of the worsted weight yarn to make this detail work, because I always want to give you a crochet option, but you can definitely cut out felt and glue them on. You can needle felt it if you want to. If you do needle felt, make sure you draw out the eyes first with I think it's like the fabric pencils that are gonna, you can clean off after you're done needle felting. You can also use puff paint to paint on the eyes. Puff paint's nice because it's going to give you like a nice smooth texture on the outside of your work instead of just regular fabric paint. If you use regular fabric paint, you may actually have to do quite a few layers of the paint so the eyes really pop. But yeah, so like I said before, this for the crochet option. You don't have to crochet it. You can use any other sort of technique to draw in the eyes. But for the eyes, I'm going to use about 18 inches, about 1.5 feet of my yarn, and I'm going to cut it through. And then as you can see here, we're going to look at the 4 plies of your worsted weight yarn. Here I'm separating those plies. I'm grabbing 2. You grab the 2 that are closest to each other, and then very carefully pull those 2 strands of yarn out to separate it from the other 2. As you can see here, it's unraveling together. It will naturally unravel in those two different strands, and here I'm just pulling. When it gets a little tight, loosen that tension a little bit and pull again, pull all the way through. It's the easiest way to separate your strands of yarn, I find. So yeah, now you have 1 strand for one eye and then the other strand for the other eye. On this section, I am actually going to show you the crochet work with blue yarn because again, my camera did not like the white yarn. So you can do a magic ring, or like me, you can chain 2 and work on that first chain or the second chain from the hook. Sorry. So we're going to do a half double crochet. You're going to chain 1. We're going to slit stitch on that front loop of the half double crochet that we did, just like we did on the tips, like that weird picot stitch that I do. You slit stitch through that front loop. And now we're going to do another half double crochet. Now we're going to do a single stitch, another single, and now we're going to repeat those sets of stitches. So our half double crochet, our chain 1, our split stitch to that front loop of the half double crochet that we just made, and then another half double crochet, and then 2 single crochets. And now you're going to join and fasten off. You want to pull that tail really tight. Be gentle because we only have 2 plies here, so if you pull too tight, you don't want to snap your yarn. So now we're going to put it all together. I'm going to start out by attaching the eyes to the bat face. I wanted to show you right here real quick how to smooth out that join from the eye. So I'm going to grab my needle and I'm going to, over here, I'm going to push the yarn to the back of the eye by inserting that hook where that join was and pulling it back. And that's going to smooth out that join a little bit so it doesn't stick out as much. You can do an invisible join too, but I mean, it's not as not as important. I rather just do it afterwards. So grab your tail, insert your needle through the front, you know, from the front to the back of that joining stitch, and this way you can smooth it out. I don't know why I'm talking so much. For the beginning tail of the eyes, I'm actually going to knot it a couple of times and then cut that tail. Usually I'll use that tail as kind of like light stuffing to make the eyes pop a little bit more, but because the eyes are so tiny, you can't really do that. So yeah, knot that beginning, like pull tight, make a couple of knots with that beginning tail, and then cut that yarn. Now as you can see, I'm just playing around with my eyes. I'm pinning them down how I want them. It's very important to be careful with how you do this. This is why it's so important to pin it down, because depending on how you sew the eyes on, it's really going to change the expression of your bat. You know, you want them to look a little bit angry, point them up, you know, just normal, straight up. But if you point them down, he's gonna look sad. So depending on the mood of your bat, be very careful how you're attaching them. Be very confident, pin them down, look at it before you sew it in place. This way you know that it's not going to look funky. This way when you pin it down, you can also make sure that they are even. So yeah, let's move on. And here I did the same thing where I'm bringing the tails to the back of the bat head, doing knots, and then bringing those knots back into the inside just to make sure that they're secure and those tails are not going to come out. So now we're going to grab the head and we're going to attach it to the wings. So make sure that it's center, make sure that it's where you want it. And as you can see, I'm going through the wing and through the head and just very carefully attach them together. Make sure that it stays centered, that it doesn't shift on you. Look at it every couple of stitches to make sure that it is where you want it to be, but it's very simple. I'm just going through the head, through the wing, through the head, through the wing, and attaching those. And then afterwards I'm just going to bring, if I have any leftover tail, I'm going to bring it to the back of the bow so I can attach it to whatever piece you want. But yeah. We have reached the part of the video where I'll do all the YouTube-y things, you know, like ask you to subscribe. If you like my content, give me a thumbs up. If you liked this video, you can give me a thumbs down if you want to. It might hurt my feelings, but it's okay. I'll get better eventually. Thank you so much for staying with me for the past hour in this hot mess of a tutorial. I really do hope you can make it. If you do make it, I would love to see it. Tag me in any of my social media accounts. I would love to see your makes from this video or any of my other videos. Here I'm just showing you real quick. The one above I used Big Twist and it was a little bit small, and then the one down below I used Karen 1 pound and it came out a little bit bigger. So you can see here the size difference. Anyway, thank you so much. Stick around for some bloopers because I can guarantee you there is a lot. And until next time, I'll see you. Love you guys.
So let's get started with the back portion of our, sorry. It's all about, Sonia. It's all about wings. So we're going to start out by next we're going to half double crochet in the first 6 or
my talking knife. Mommy. I want chocolate.
And chocolate milk.
Yes.
Yeah. This is why we can't record stuff. Does anybody else have children that just cannot go down the stairs quietly? That do 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 do. It's like an earthquake every single time. All right. Chains, Sonia. They're chains. They're not stitches. They're chains. Are you kidding me? Double crochet. You and your loud. Do 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 do. I'm filming an Instagram story, also known as procrastination. I don't wanna be anything other than what I've been trying to be lately. All I have to do is think of you. Do you guys like my customer service voice? I hate it. Now you're going to half double crochet in the forced